jobs, because Nairobi cannot be an attractive city for investment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from Otiende Omollo on this as well, your introductory remarks. Good morning, good to see you.
Good morning and good morning, viewers.
Yes.
On this International Women's Day, I wish to congratulate all women
Yes.
and honorary women who are working towards equity and equality of all gender. On the issue at hand of the Boda Bodas,
Yes.
I wish to disagree with my friend, Professor Manyora, in some respects. First, there is no sector in respect to which we can throw our hands up and say we cannot regulate. This is the same issue with hawkers, for example. You cannot just say that you cannot regulate them. We must make a fair attempt at regulation, whether it's by legislation, whether it's by policy or execution. Secondly, Boda Bodas in itself is not a bad thing. I will tell you that in many parts of this country, especially in some of our constituency, before the idea of having the Boda Bodas, the closest you'd have are people with the bicycles. And before the commercial bicycles, there were only bicycles that were individually owned. People would walk, and I can attest to this. Some of us would walk up to 15, 20, 30 kilometers on foot. So the idea of the Boda Bodas is to ease in, to an extent, the means of transportation of those who would not afford vehicles or places that vehicles would not go to. So it's not a bad thing. So we cannot get rid of Boda Bodas as such. We must just regulate them. And let me tell you, the idea of the Boda Boda benefits not just those who cannot afford vehicles or places that vehicles cannot go, but even those, some of those boys, and in a few cases some girls. They do not make much profit. They make modest profit, but that modest profit keeps them going. There are many parts of this country, including my constituency, where the Boda Boda industry is a serious income generating industry. In fact, it is so serious that you must regulate them not just in terms of when they are riding, but even when they are not riding, because they get small loose money, even more than the teachers in the village, and they become a menace even to some of the schoolgirls. So part of the regulation we always do is to try and ensure that there's discipline, both when they are riding and when they are not riding. Because some of the pregnancies that sometimes we experience are from, you know, some of those schoolgirls who get lured by some rogue Boda Boda guys. And so the profits, they may be modest, but it is to them, and it serves the economy. Some of them are so well organized that after some time they even buy their own vehicles. I only recently launched, a Nissan vehicle that was bought by a group of, such as sacco in my constituency in Luanda Kotieno.
Yes.
However, there's a good number, a very good number of Boda Boda riders are very disciplined, very organized. They have their circles and they are registered. You go to any stage, they tell you the number of registered Boda Bodas is like this, and they regulate them. But like, I'm a lawyer, so they always say, you just get one lawyer to do one bad thing and 100 lawyers are condemned, you see. There are also those who are bad. Like the kind of conduct we saw is outrageous.
Yes.
It is not acceptable in any community, anywhere. It is criminal conduct. It is the kind of conduct that cannot be accepted. A few of those Boda Boda guys and think that they can run a parallel regime. A regime where, even when they are wrong in terms of traffic law, they are still right. There is no time you will ever have an accident with a Boda Boda, even if they are riding on the wrong side, and they knock your car. Once another one came and knocked the side of my car, and they still all came claiming that I was the one on the wrong.
Yes.
How the hell do you move sideways with the car to knock a Boda Boda? So that cannot be accepted. We must just insist, and in my view, two things need to be done. One, the regulation of the Boda Bodas must be much closer. For example, those ones that we saw on that video, I think the insistence must be that if you are to ride, at every stage you are registered in terms of a sacco that is tied to a given stage or a given place. So that if there's any issue, then that chair can be summoned and asked who of your riders was involved, because you can tell. And one of the ways to tell is to insist that they must wear helmets, and the helmets must bear your number of the registration. If you are number 1 in that stage, your helmet should read number 1. The way we've tied the matatus to given sacco,
or the reflective jacket as well.
The reflective jacket can be checked, but I think it should be both. In Rwanda, you go and you find each of them has a number, both the reflective jacket and the helmet. We must do that and tie them to a stage. The second thing, I think now it is time for the police to establish a special force that will focus on cycling motorists. Read Boda Bodas. But cycling motorists could also include the bicycles and others. I think we need a very special regulation, because right now the police are overwhelmed with a lot of things. And the most we have to regulate them are the traffic police. In truth, the traffic police don't concentrate too much on the Boda Bodas, because they know that their level of income is rather low. So even if you stop them to try and enforce the regulations, you are not going to get much returns. So they focus on motor vehicles. I think we need a special force now to focus on cycling motorists.
Right, and I hope, yes, please, yes.
These are politicians. They speak well. They know how to speak, and that's how they earn their living. Let me tell you this, Deba. For example, we make that mistake. For example, Deba, there is no amount of regulation that you can use to make Nairobi a city of the 21st century, so long as you have matatus in Nairobi. You cannot regulate matatus. Organize this.
Why can't you regulate matatu?
How?
As just
How? It is a question of capacity. It's a question of subculture. It's not something you can handle. I was in this studio with one of the chairmen. I know there are two chairmen. One is Bogo, another one is Kimtai. I was with Kimtai on a show on KTN, here. And I told him, you'll be overtaken by events. The way taxis were being overtaken and the Uber has come. Organize yourself and buy these new buses. That's what we need to encourage our matatu operators to do. To move into organized bus transport. In the future, even the light trains. That's the way to go. The matatus are too many. The carrying capacity is too low for a city. You can't do that in a working city. You can't. You can't have a city with Mikokoteni. These are our Kenyans, but we must tell them the truth and help them earn livelihoods.
Yes.
Boda Bodas are not only responsible for what we are talking about today, harassing people, other motorists. Every hospital almost across the country has awards specifically for Boda Boda related accidents.
Yes.
Today, Boda Boda are moving from traffic menace to gang violence. When you are phone, it just goes with the board. That's where we are heading.
It's true.
We are courting disaster. And I've always wondered, does this country have intelligence? If we had intelligence in this country, they would have been told the government, you are courting disaster. Other countries are crying, they wish they had not gone the way you want to go. The moment the Boda Boda started, the intelligence of this country would have warned the government, do not allow this thing to start. Because when it reaches the level of gang